A car, of course, consists of many thousands of different parts. But this video is not just about another car. It's about this Pagani Huayra Roadster, where each and every single part is something very special. Very finely engineered, even better built, and not least spectacularly beautiful. But even considering this, the real genius of the Pagani is that the finished car still manages to be even better than the sum of its parts. In this video, we'll take you through just how great the Huayra actually is, why that is, and what sets this specific Huayra Roadster apart from the very few others out there. Apart from the fact that this car is actually for sale. So recline your favorite carbon armchair and sit back. Today we're going quite into the detail with this Pagani Huayra Roadster. This video is brought to you by Selected Car Investment, where we buy and sell only the best collectible cars. Check our website to see if your next car happens to be in stock, or contact us for off-market cars, or if you want help to find your next investment. But let's start somewhere slightly else. What exactly is it? Well, in short, the Huayra is the second model Pagani built, and as such, the successor to the hailed Zonda. The Huayra came out in 2011, at which time the Zonda was more than 10 years old. Certainly not grey and old yet, quite the contrary. When introduced in 1999, the Zonda delivered a solid 450 horsepower from its 6-litre V12 engine, enough to put it firmly into the supercar league. Remember that back then Pagani was a tiny company, barely building a car per year, a true artisan manufacturer of the sorts that back in the 50s and 60s was lovingly called etzeterini. It took Pagani 3 years to make the first major update on the Zonda, which was then a pretty big leap forward, now being powered by a 7-litre version of the V12, stomping out well over 500 horsepower. And from there, Pagani never looked back, as they basically introduced two factors that characterized every car since. The technical evolution was almost set free to run loose, while the production numbers were rather the opposite. That formula, in essence, let every new version of the Zonda be more spectacular than the former, as well as being deliberately kept ultra rare. Along the way, it also took the Zonda in a more extreme direction, with some versions resembling pure race cars. Interestingly, Pagani never actually developed the Zonda for proper racing, although some of their most track-oriented versions were too extreme to be even road legal. To cut a long story short, the brilliant base of the Zonda certainly had legs, as very few supercars managed to stay relevant for as many years as the Zonda actually did. Nevertheless, Pagani were only a few years into the Zonda, its legend still developing, when they started considering what should follow their first car. And just as in the movies, the follow-up to a blockbuster is always more difficult, as the bar has been set. And if you don't raise that bar once again, it will very often be seen as a failure. And failure is a word that does not rhyme with supercar. So no pressure, right? Right, no pressure. What Pagani did could be viewed as the rather safe way of evolution. But the thing is that the Zonda did so much right that it would have been stupid to sacrifice it just to do something different. And Pagani is not stupid. So a full carbon fiber chassis was a given for the new car, and so was a V12 engine. But in this stratospheric world of Uber-cars, you can't really have too much power. So Pagani drew inspiration from one of his own favorite cars and what that did almost 40 years earlier. The Porsche 917 won Le Mans twice with a naturally aspirated 12-cylinder. But then it went to America and needed more power, and Porsche famously took to turbocharging the engine. Could that approach work for the new Pagani? Well, Mercedes-Benz and AMG answered the question in unison and agreed to deliver a twin turbocharged V12 to the new car, and that secured the basics of what would become the Huayra. At the introduction, the finished engine delivered 740 brake horsepower and a mountain of torque of 1000 Newton meters. But not the least, it did so in a way more civilized manner than the Zondas of similar output. Make no mistake, this engine is the heart of the Huayra, and while it may look and read familiar compared to the Zonda's V12, this turbocharged powerhouse is in reality rather different, and it sets the tone for the character of the whole car. While for the engine, Pagani drew inspiration from the tweaks done to Porsche's most successful race cars of the 70s, the 917, Pagani drew inspiration from even further back in history as well, from none other than Leonardo da Vinci, one of the most influential figures of the Renaissance. If the 14th and 15th century happen to be not your core competence, let me cut a long story short. Da Vinci was a genius, and not in the term used to spoil your kids, but a proper genius, being a master painter, sculptor, architect, engineer, musician, general inventor, and more. And Pagani was inspired by him? Well, think about it for a moment. Some of the best traditional car designs are not far from being pieces of art themselves. The Lamborghini Miura, the General Motors show trucks, everything from Colani, Pininfarina Modulo, etc., etc. And I guess you could call this applied science. Likewise, there has been examples of pure art being applied to cars as well, quite literally, as in the BMW art cars racing in liveries done by significant artists of the time. Or indeed cars made out as pure art pieces, in the process actually losing the car status in itself. The genius of Pagani was that he took this blend further with the Huayra, not least inspired by Da Vinci, who has been quoted as saying that art and science are disciplines that need to walk alongside. This is literally what Pagani did. Instead of adding a layer of superficial artsiness to his car, he elevated it to a whole new level. The Huayra as a piece of art in itself. This could have gone terribly wrong, but in the philosophy, Pagani stuck to Da Vinci's vision and kept the scientific aspects in check too, creating in the process a complete car, where indeed art and science walk together. Rarely has the term masterpiece been more proper for a car than with the Huayra. So let's look at the specific strokes characterizing this piece. I already mentioned the engine, and this is interestingly an area where Pagani held back. Mundane conventional thinking says bigger turbos mean bigger power, and that's a good thing, right? But proper art is very much about balance, and Pagani was well aware of how he wanted his engine to sit in this canvas of a car and how he wanted it to feel. So he specifically asked for smaller turbos to reduce lag, increase responsiveness and feel of the engine. Feel ahead of numbers? Yes, what a proper artist at work. The Huayra has active aerodynamics as well, and I think Da Vinci would be especially proud of this. He did invent the helicopter, you know. Just didn't make it work because, in part, nobody had invented an engine for it. Likewise, active aerodynamics, moving aerodynamic parts, were nothing new when the Huayra came out. But they didn't always work as intended. Here, they do. The gearbox is another aspect where Pagani took the balanced approach, and all Huayras were to be automatics. At the time, a double clutch gearbox was available, but Pagani fitted the simpler single clutch gearbox anyway. This time based on science, as the single clutch was significantly lighter, allowing the better appointed Huayra to weigh in at not much more than the Zonda. And then there's the color. Many Paganis are duotone, semi-transparent, dyed-in carbon, combinations thereof, or even just clear-coated carbon in its naturally blackish hue, paradoxically making this classic look very much a rarity. True to Pagani form, it is of course beautifully applied to a mirror-like finish. And then there's the mileage of this specific Huayra Roadster, and it might be somewhat the elephant in the room. This Roadster is 6 years old and it has done 36 kilometers. Is it a shame that it's only been driven 7 kilometers per year on average? Well, based on the specific goal of blending art and science in a car, you could say we arrive at a huge paradox. Here we have a magnificent driving machine, one of the fastest cars in the world, and it has sat there as the crown jewels on a velvet pouch? Well, isn't that what crown jewels do? I do not know if Da Vinci was a philosopher as well, but I do think we need one to answer that question. Criticisms? Well, just about the toughest I could find on the Huayra was this. Does without Android Auto and Apple CarPlay interfaces. Production numbers are very limited. Yes, crippling criticism, isn't it? Mostly the latter part. And while we don't have the solution to the Apple CarPlay, we do have the solution to the latter, as this car is actually for sale. Before we deliver the car, it will get a fresh service at Pagani and it will be ready for taking this masterpiece of a car out on whatever magnificent road trip you should wish for. And trust me, no matter where and when, the world will welcome you. There's no question about that. Instead, the big question is, are you man enough to take it out for a driving? Or maybe woman enough to experience for yourself exactly why Top Gear judged the Huayra the hypercar of the year when it was new, which arguably this one still is, mileage and all? Or would you actually prefer this car to be kept in exactly the pristine, showroom fresh and virginal condition that it is still in now? No matter what, rest assured that I will not judge. When it's your car, it's your car. And this one can become your car. Don't hesitate in contacting us if you're interested in this beautiful Pagani Huayra Roadster. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It really helps us in the long run. And then I'll see you for the next one.